In Washington today, opponents of genetically altered food filed a class action lawsuit against Monsanto.
Most of what we learn about the world around us comes to us through the news media. Newspapers, magazines, and broadcast news on radio and TV are all created by journalists to inform us about current events. But the news you read in the newspaper and see on the news doesn't tell you everything. Newspapers, TV, and radio cover many of the same topics, but they do so in very different ways. Print journalism can provide a lot of detail in a story, but it lacks the immediacy of broadcast news.
This is 11 News Tonight.
The heart of historic Ellicott City engulfed in flames.
Television can make you feel like you're on the scene with compelling sounds and moving images, but newspapers give you more information about what's going on right in your own neighborhood. Each different media has its own strengths and weaknesses and has its own way of using language and images to tell a story.
What I want you to do is listen to this news broadcast.
For decades, the Food and Drug Administration took the position that it did not have authority to regulate tobacco under the 1938 law creating the agency. But 3 years ago, the FDA changed its mind, citing new information showing that tobacco companies had known even before the government did that tobacco products are highly addictive and that the industry had targeted teenagers to hook them on tobacco at an early age.
You can tell that that radio broadcast, news broadcast, is different from the article that you read in the paper. What I'd like you to do is compare the article that you read in the newspaper and the radio newscast that you hear. Even television. Television and radio are very much the same. Let's start with those two. So a radio and a television both have to be done in a very short period of time, so you end up not getting as much information from the radio and the television as you do the newspaper. So they take all of the information, or let's say the important information from the newspaper, and on the radio broadcast they take the information and they put it into short sentences, which is what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to pass out newspapers. You're going to look through those newspapers for an article that you think is interesting to you. And then when you find it, you and your partner read the article. You can even take a pencil and underline the important parts in the article. And then what I need for you to do is to rewrite the newspaper article in a way that would make it interesting for a listener or someone who has the radio on to get the news. Like this article. Do you see anything that's different?
64 people died. Is full of piano.
I need for you now to take your newspapers, fold them up as carefully as you can, and put them in a pile. And I hope you have your radio script ready, because what we're going to do now is have you come up and practice reading it, just as if you were doing a news broadcast on the radio. Now, when you start, don't start soft. You want to get right in there with a punch and tell your important facts. Go ahead.
A driver was arrested after a collision with a moose. A New Hampshire driver probably wishes he'd stopped before the moose crossing. 21-year-old Matthew Smith killed the animal Sunday evening. That was only the beginning of Smith's troubles. Yesterday's performance wasn't what Holy Cross College had in mind. Coach Dan Allen talked about getting off to a good start.
This summer, teams have been jumping off a 100-foot bridge into Quinsigamond Lake. For the rest of the story, here's Marjorie.
Police say that by the time they get there, they're gone. They say that they can press charges for trespassing if they catch them.